Dak Prescott didn't just make a soundbite when he said the Cowboys have to come out and throw the first punch. He gave you the roadmap for the whole season. Think about that with me for a second. We're not talking about one play, one drive, or even just beating the Eagles in Week 1. Dak's line is essentially the identity test for this team. If you want the Cowboys to make the playoffs, you need to decide what you are, and Prescott is telling everyone what he thinks the answer should be. Be aggressive, attack through the air, and force opponents to react to you instead of letting them set the game's tone. That matters because of who the opponent is, yes, but also because of who the Cowboys are right now. You've still got Dak behind center, a quarterback who, a couple seasons ago, was in MVP conversation, and you've got playmakers on the perimeter who can create mismatches every snap. CeeDee Lamb is a top-tier weapon. George Pickens brings the vertical stretch to keep corners. Honest, Jake Ferguson gives you a reliable target over the middle. Those pieces aren't an accident. They're the reason you should insist the passing game becomes the team's identity. Now, I know what you're thinking. What about the run? What about the defense? Those are fair concerns. But here's the cold truth. If Dallas lets teams bully them early and fall behind, they're playing from behind against a front that loves to run. That's exactly what Dak wants to avoid, so you have to be the aggressor early. You have to call plays that test second-level defenders and force safeties to make decisions before they can tee off the run. You want to see tempo, motion, early shots downfield, and quick rhythm throws that keep the chains moving. If you agree with that, type YES in the comments and tell me which receiver you want targeted on the opening drive. And hey, if you're into real Cowboys breakdowns, hit that subscribe button and help us push to 16,000 subscribers so I can keep making this kind of content for you. Up next, we'll break down why Week 1 against the Eagles is the perfect measuring stick for this approach and exactly what being the aggressor looks like on the field. When you hear Dak Prescott talk about throwing the first punch, it makes even more sense when you focus on the opponent in Week 1, the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's be real, this isn't just another divisional matchup. You're facing the defending Super Bowl champions, a team that can completely flip the game script if they get ahead early. The Eagles are built to run the ball down your throat. They've got Jalen Hurts, who is as dangerous with his legs as he is with his arm, and Saquon Barkley, who can take over a game if you let him get rolling downhill. Even though Philadelphia lost some pieces on the offensive line, they still have one of the strongest run-blocking units in the league. If you give them a lead, you're in trouble because they'll pound the ground game, control time of possession, and bully your defense for 4 quarters. That's why Dak's comment is so critical. Be the aggressors. What does that mean in practice? It means you can't afford to sit back, test the waters, and hope the game settles into your pace. No, you've got to dictate the terms from the opening kickoff. You want to take the crowd out of it, plant doubt in that Eagles defense, and make them feel like they're the ones reacting. That's the difference between playing on your heels and playing on your toes against a team like Philadelphia. Once you're behind, they'll step on your throat. So the Cowboys can't wait. They need to land that first punch. Think of it this way, if Dallas scores first and applies pressure through the passing game, the Eagles have to lean more on their aerial attack. And while Hurts has improved as a passer, that's not their bread and butter. Forcing Philly into a style they're less comfortable with gives you a chance to tilt the field back in your favor. On the other side, if you're the one reacting, if you're chasing points, suddenly you're running into their front 7 on obvious passing downs, and that's not a winning formula. So being aggressive early isn't about gambling recklessly, it's about strategic control. I want to hear from you here. Do you think the Cowboys should open the game taking a deep shot on the first drive, or would you rather see them work quick, short passes to set a rhythm? Drop your answer in the comments and let's see which side of the fan base is louder. And if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're closing in on 16,000 subscribers, and your support is what keeps these breakdowns coming. If you really want to understand why Dak Prescott's words carry so much weight, you have to look at where the Cowboys' strength actually lies. It's not just a hunch, it's in the roster. The real identity of this team is the passing game. When Dak says throw the first punch, he's pointing right at the unit that can separate Dallas from the pack in 2025, and that starts with the connection between Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. Lamb isn't just a number one wideout, he's one of the best receivers in the entire league. He can line up outside, work the slot, win contested catches, and create after the catch. He's a nightmare for defensive coordinators, and that's the foundation you build an aggressive offensive identity on. But it doesn't stop with Lamb. The addition of George Pickens changes everything. Pickens is a vertical threat who can stretch defenses in a way the Cowboys desperately needed. Last year, teams could roll coverage towards CeeDee, and Dak often had to force the ball into tight windows. Now, with Pickens opposite him, you can't double both guys. If you try, you're leaving yourself exposed somewhere else. That spacing makes life easier for everyone. Lamb gets more one-on-one chances, Pickens can punish single coverage downfield, and suddenly Dak has options that can turn a drive into points in just one play. And don't forget about Jake Ferguson. Tight ends who can be trusted on third downs are the difference between sustaining drives and punting. Ferguson showed last season that he can handle those moments, and with defenses stretched by Lamb and Pickens, he'll have even more opportunities to carve up zones and exploit mismatches against linebackers. Put those three together and you've got a passing attack that's as good as any in the conference. Now, the scheme matters too, with Brian Schottenheimer at the helm and Clayton Adams as offensive coordinator. You can expect some wrinkles, but the core has to stay the same. Let your talent do the heavy lifting. That means tempo early, creative formations, and forcing defenses to reveal their hand pre-snap. Motion Lamb into the slot, stack Pickens to the outside, and watch safeties panic trying to decide who they help. That's the type of aggressiveness Dak is talking about. Not reckless shots every drive, but a mindset of dictating terms through your best players. Here's what I want from you. Drop in the comments which trio you think ranks higher right now: Dak, Lamb, and Pickens, or Hurts, Brown, and Barkley? I know that'll spark some debate, and I want to see where Cowboys Nation stands. And if you're enjoying this breakdown, don't forget to like the video. It really helps more fans find the channel and helps us reach that 16,000 subscriber milestone. Now, as much as I'd love to tell you the defense is going to carry this team the way it did in past years, I have to be honest with you. There are too many question marks to lean on that side of the ball right now. And that's exactly why Dak's call for aggression matters so much. Because if you're counting on the defense to consistently bail you out, you might be disappointed. Let's start with the most obvious change. Micah Parsons isn't in the picture anymore. That's not just losing your best player, it's losing the engine. That made the pass rush terrifying. Without Micah, the Cowboys can't rely on pressure alone to cover up other weaknesses. Sure, they brought in Kenny Clark at nose tackle, and he's a solid addition. He can help anchor against the run, plug up the middle, and demand double teams. But let's be real, one new face isn't going to instantly transform the defense into a brick wall. It's going to take time, chemistry, and depth that this roster may not have yet. Then there's the injury situation. Linebacker depth is already thin, with DeMarvion Overshown not expected back until later in the year. That leaves holes in the middle of the defense that smart defenses will exploit. And what about Trevon Diggs? He said he'll return by week 4, but we don't know what that really means. Will he be at full speed? Will he look like the ball hawk corner he was before? Or will there be rust? Until we see him on the field, it's a question mark. All of this points to the same conclusion: the defense might not be good enough early in the season to win games by itself. That doesn't mean it's hopeless. It just means you have to shift the pressure back onto the offense, where your stars are healthy and your ceiling is higher. If the Cowboys want to beat teams like Philadelphia, San Francisco, or even surprise contenders on the schedule, it won't be by holding them under 17 points. It'll be by racing them to 30 and forcing them into uncomfortable territory. I want your take on this. Do you trust the defense to hold leads in the first month of the season? Type Y or N in the comments and let me know why. And don't forget, subscribing now gets us one step closer to 16,000 supporters of this channel. So here's the big picture. If the Cowboys are going to exceed expectations in 2025, it's simple. They have to embrace the passing game, their identity, and commit to being aggressive from the opening snap. Dak Prescott already laid out the blueprint, throw the first punch, and now it's up to the team to follow it. The schedule isn't forgiving. They've got division rivals, defending champions, and tough matchups that could expose weaknesses if they're not proactive. Falling behind early isn't an option, and that's exactly why this offensive identity matters. Look at the talent on the field. CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Jake Ferguson, and Prescott himself make for a combination that can put points on the board against anyone. The matchups are in your favor if you commit to exploiting them, spread the field, attack vertically, force safeties to choose between helping on Lamb or Pickens, and make defenses react to you instead of the other way around. That's how you control games, even if the defense has questions. And yes, the defense might improve over the season. Kenny Clark could stabilize the run defense, Trevin Diggs might return to form, and young players could step up. But early on, the offense has to be the engine. This approach also gives fans a clear way to measure success: wins in the first month, a rhythm in the passing game, and consistent aggressiveness. That's how you know the Cowboys are on track. If the team can establish this identity, it won't just be about beating the Eagles in Week 1. It'll be about setting the tone for the entire season and giving themselves a real shot at the playoffs.